Hello and welcome. My name is Tavishima Ayede. I solve sales and marketing challenges, and I'm making today's podcast recording outside church, so expect to hear some interruptions in the background. My children are here for catechism classes, so I figured let me just make a podcast recording while I'm waiting for them. Now, the goal of this podcast is not to talk about my kids and church, but we're here to talk about business education. So please spread the word so that your friends and family members in Nigeria and abroad can benefit from the questions that we tackle. They can do that by subscribing on Spotify, YouTube, Apple, or any player of their choice. And if you'd love to connect with me, you can call, you can SMS, you can WhatsApp me on 080 6466 2140. Now, today on the podcast, I would like to talk about branding. It's not something I talk about much of the time because tons of people already talk about branding. Everywhere you look, there's a podcast about branding. There's what else? Blog posts about branding. All kinds of things about branding. So that's the reason why I don't talk about it. However, branding is important, and I'm going to bring it up again because I think from yesterday's podcast episode and the others that we did before, we've been talking about familiarity, emotional connection, all those kinds of things. And so I guess I'll just have to bring up branding again because these kinds of things like branding that facilitate an emotional connection makes it easier to have a sales conversation later on. So for those of you who have established strong brands or who are in the process of establishing strong brands, you'll be able to appreciate what it is that I'm talking about. Like back in the wedding photography space, when I started off, after a while, somebody will run into me and be like, "Oh, you are Yede, you're that guy." I'm like, "Yeah, that's me." So that kind of thing, when you start having a brand, start having a reputation, it makes things easier. You get into some places and people are like, "Oh, so that's you. You're that guy or you're that babe." And, it helps. So it's not a bad idea to discuss branding, to bring up a few ideas about branding. Since yesterday and the episodes before, we're looking at how to create emotional resonance with potential clients, potential customers. Now, instead of trying to educate you guys about branding, I just want to restate, or rather repeat, some things that I've been saying about branding time and time again. Because whenever people hear branding, their mind goes straight to packaging. Now, as in, I don't have to explain it. Like in Lagos, back when I was in Lagos, there's this thing, people used to say packaging. And, even in Abuja, some people still talk about packaging. So when you hear branding, everybody's thinking about how you package the whole enterprise before you begin. So I just want to bring up some thoughts just to let you guys know that, you packaging people, sometimes you guys are thinking too hard or thinking too fast. You need to slow down and pay attention to the most important things first. So, some things to remember about branding, or rather, some things to consider about branding, especially those of you in the packaging school. You want to package everything well. Get the logo to look on point, get the colors, get everything, the website, the embossed brochures, everything. You want to package yourself, die. Now, it's not a bad idea. It's a good idea, especially if you can afford it. It helps. But one thing to remember is that branding is not just logos and colors and images and brochures and glossy pamphlets and, all of that is cool. And if you can afford it, by all means, please go ahead and package on point, as in package to the death before you start, if you can afford it. It's just that lots of people are not in a situation where they're going to be able to pay, 300K for websites and then another 300 and 400K maybe for logo design, and then give the lawyer another like 300, 400K to register business. The average person is not in that space or in that peace of mind that, they just drop 1M and they haven't even started anything yet. That 1M is just packaging, just laying the land. So, branding is not just logos. Branding is not just colors. Branding is not just images. Branding is the subtotal. Everything, all joined. All the promises that you make to customers, the customer experience, the user experience, the things that people go through, when they do business with you, when they interact with your business, interact with your employees, interact with you. Everything, all joined together. That is what is called branding. So in a sense, that is the reason why I can say confidently that I have a brand, even though I have not done any packaging. If you look for websites for me, you won't see Guy. I don't have website. If you look for fancy office address with Italian leather couches and ornate wooden floor, something, like you won't see Shishi. You won't see none of that for me. But I can confidently say that I have a brand because even though I have no logo, even though I have no company colors, I mean, of course, I've registered the company name. And to be honest, the people that do business with me, they don't even ask me about company name. It's only when it comes to transferring money, they now see that, oh, okay, company name is different from my own name. That's at the stage that people even realize that I have a company. But so far, nobody has said, what's your company name? So, by the way, but if you want to do business on a national level, like you want to deal with state government, federal government, stuff like that, then yeah, all these things are very, very important. Make sure you have your company name, your tax identification number, your every. All of those things will be necessary. And then if you're going to do work with international NGOs, you also need all of that to be on point. But the point I'm just trying to say is that even people like me that have not done the requisite packaging, we can still say we have a brand, and people can still say, I have a brand. In fact, there are some people who say, oh boy, that your brand is on point. Even though, as in that's what they tell me, even though I don't have any of these other things, it's because I'm paying attention to the subtotal, the sum, the everything altogether. When I'm on the phone, what's the interaction like? How do people feel me? When we're on a Zoom session, how do people feel me? If it's one-on-one meeting in a public space or I'm going to somebody's office, how do they feel me? Everything all joined together, how do they feel me? That's the beginning of my brand. That's the beginning of my reputation. That's the beginning of my whatever it is that you want to call it. So the same thing too, for you getting ready to go into business, just realize that because you don't have 1M to drop first for logo, for color, for brochure, for website, for everything, don't worry, you still have a brand. And if you're paying attention to doing, the fundamentals of good business, you are in the beginning of crafting a very powerful brand. But don't worry, everything is step by step. So, branding is more than just logos. Branding is more than just colors. Branding is more than just glossy brochures. Those are the first things a lot of us think about, but that's because a lot of us have grown up with multinational corporations who have huge marketing budgets. And I'm not 70s. I'm an 80s baby, early 80s baby. So for us, our own set, whenever people said brand, what they meant was like Coca-Cola. Later on, like Dell. What else? There may be like Shell Petroleum, BP. All those big multinational corporations. So during my set, that's what people meant when they were saying brand. So in primary school back in those days, excuse me, whenever you hear, sorry. So back in primary school in those days, whenever you hear brand, those are the kind of things that people were talking about. So because of that, my own set, people of a certain age, when we hear brand, that's what we think. Brand, Nike, Coca-Cola, Apple, Shell BP, Total Energies, Christian Dior, big. But don't worry, even though you're not at that level yet, you still have a brand. Sorry. Then let's see what else. Okay, business name. Also something else that people talk about, people agonize over when it comes to this whole thing about brand. And especially now that I've been doing consulting for a while, it will surprise you how you will talk to somebody in January. They are working on the brand. They're coming up with a name, coming up with logo. You jam the person again in March, in April. You say, oh boy, how far now? Yeah, I'm still on it. We're still working on the brand. As in January, you said you're on it. In April, you say you're still working on the brand. Like, what the hell are you doing? You're wasting time. Business compounds upon itself. Business progress compounds upon itself. If you manage to make one customer in January, Maybe February, you didn't get another customer. Then maybe in March and April, you got three customers. Like, you're beginning to compound upon progress. Rather than saying, 2025, my best year, something I will blow, whatever, working on the brand, strategizing, coming soon. And they see you again in April, still strategizing, still coming soon, still in the cooler, still in the works, still brainstorming. So, when it comes to brand name or business name, honestly, don't let this thing hold you down. Don't waste too much time at this stage. Pick any name you like, or pick a name that is descriptive of what you do. Like, take for instance my podcast. It is Sales for the Nigerian Business Person. That is the most unsexiest podcast name ever. But the thing is, it is very descriptive. And those of you who are looking for something in that light, when you found me on Spotify or you found me on YouTube, you were glad, because the name was very prescriptive die. You understood straight exactly what I was trying to do. Now, even though that name is not sexy, the thing is, at least I'm gaining traction now, validating the idea now that people are looking for this kind of content and they want this kind of guidance. In the future, I can always change and maybe call my show, Tantalizing Tavishima, or Chilling with Tavi, or Conversations with Tavi, or whatever. I can always change the name. But for now, just pick any name and get started. Any. You can change it in the future. So, the focus now is just to validate the business idea. Validating the business idea just means you're trying to do one or two things to figure out if there's a demand for this product or for this service. Do people even want this thing? When they want it and you're gaining some traction, then, you can always change your name. And for those of you who like reading autobiographies and stuff like that, you'll be surprised that all these, your favorite corporation, pick your favorite brand. You'll be surprised that was not always their name. They started as one name and they changed later on. In fact, the one that is coming to my mind right now is Nokia, because I was watching, listening to a program where they were interviewing the Ogas at Nokia, and they were talking about how their company has gone through several iterations. So Nokia, they started off in woodworks, carpentry, then later on, construction, and then, on and on into mobile telephony. And then now, what do they do now? Now, Nokia owns the mobile infrastructure that is behind GSM. So, yes, Nokia don't make phones anymore, but a lot of the technology and a lot of the companies that make it possible for us to use mobile phones, Nokia still owns them. So that's an example about how companies change names and how they change focus and how they iterate and they grow and they whatever over time. So those of you who are thinking this thing, you are overthinking it. A name is important, but it's not as important as you think. By the way, use common sense. So if you're a baker and you name your company after poop, then of course you know that you are shooting yourself in the foot, because this is something somebody will eat. So make sure you use some common sense. So, but bottom line, what I'm saying is, don't waste time at this stage. Pick something. If you can't think of anything, pick any name that is descriptive and then just go. Try and validate this idea. Then, another thing that people waste time on when it comes to branding, they worry about whether you name the company name the company with your name or not. And you're wasting too much damn time over this. I tell people all the time, it doesn't matter whether you name the company after you or something else. What matters is your aspirations. Because some Nigerians think if you name your company Chukwudi, Ogedengbe and Sons, that means that your company will never blow. It doesn't mean. If you name your company Chukwudi, Ogedengbe and Sons, but you have international aspirations and you do fundamentally good business, your business will blow even with that name. So don't worry too much. In fact, I used to get flack for this because for my photography company, my brother and I, because of course we're family now, so we named it Ayede Film and Photography. And so it's something we used to get flack for. Now, how you name your company that kind of name now, that isn't all local. It's not about the name. It's about your business aspirations. So I say it a lot, and I'm going to say it again. We have international businesses that are built on the names of specific people, but they had very huge international aspirations. And right now, people don't care that it's named after them. One example, Walt Disney. Me and my kids, we enjoy Disney movies. The company is named after one person, one man. Dangote, the business is not named after his family. It's named after him, one man, international business. For those of you who are movie buffs, Warner Brothers, they did the same thing that my brother and I did. They were in business. What should we name this company? Our son name is Warner. Oh yeah, we are Warner Brothers. It was that simple. But they are in the international movie production and distribution business, even though those companies were named after specific individuals. In fact, in these cases, brothers. Then plenty. Lehman Brothers. If you want to enter the fashion scene, again, there's plenty. Tommy Hilfiger, isn't that one man? Christian Dior, is not one person. So it's not about whether you name. So look, if you want to start your business, I want to call it Chukwudi Ogedegbe and Sons or Chukwudi Ogedegbe and Daughters. It's fine. It's your aspirations that are important. Don't worry too much about that. Sony isn't our family name. Anyway, let me go and confirm that myself. Let me not give you guys an incomplete gist. So don't worry too much. Conversely, there are some people who now name their business with the big sounding international name, thinking that that's what will help you blow. But unfortunately, that's not the case. And this is one example. In Lagos, there is Laura and Laurel International School in Lagos. Meanwhile, there is only one campus of that school, somewhere close to Ogba. Even though the name is on point, Laura and Laurel International School, but the school no international, nothing. So don't worry too much. If you want to name it after yourself, if you want to name it after your mother, you want to name it after your father, you want to name it after your children, don't just go ahead. Pick a name, start. It's all about your aspirations. Validate the business idea. Make sure that you build, do good foundational business around it, and you'll be fine. Then, logo and identity. This is also something that you used to waste people's time. So, logo and visual identity. Yes, logo, color palette, typography. Which kind of fonts are we going to use? Imagery, visual style, everything. Let's have a consistent look, Let the website blend with the Instagram, blend with the everything. So, yes. Oh, my children are trying to scare me. Sorry, one moment. Okay, sorry about that. My children just finished their classes, so they were trying to scare me. I don't know why. They're always trying to scare me, run up and jump and shout and things like that. And I keep telling them that, look, you can't scare me. I mean, you're not creative enough. You're not imaginative enough. And to be honest, the children scare me when they keep quiet. When I'm in the house and I don't hear them, I now wonder, what the hell is going on? Why are they quiet? Normally, this whole house should be shaking, but this one that they're quiet, that is what scares me. Not when they run around and make noise. Anyway, where was I? So, logo, right? Visual identity. Yeah. So lots of people waste time on this stage, but this is my own opinion. At the beginning of the business, except if you're a stylista, fashionista from the beginning, because some people are just sophisticated like that. Like they come out of the womb and they understand packaging and how everything should be arranged, If you're not one of those types, don't waste your time at this stage because you don't know enough yet about your customer base, about the other stakeholders in the market, about how what your marketing positioning is going to be, and all these sorts of things. Sorry, one moment. Okay, sorry about that. It was my kids again. I guess I should be wrapping up this thing so that we'll just move. So I was saying that basically this whole thing of visual identity and making sure everything is cohesive and all that, don't worry about it too much in the beginning because you don't know enough yet about your customers. Because there are lots of things you will meet in front that will now determine what your brand will be. That will, determine the evolution of your brand. And quite frankly, you don't know enough about that yet. For those of you who like, reading business history books and everything, just go and pick any book on the evolution of Coca-Cola's brand. You will see how the thing has changed over time. As you're going front, breaking new markets, breaking new borders, meeting new customers, things change. So you don't know enough about these sorts of things yet. Because there are some of you who are getting into business and you want to project something really, how will I put it, imposing and professional. Like you want your brand to be very bam, like IBM, very corporate sounding kind of brand. But meanwhile, you're a very, very playful kind of somebody. And the company culture is that all of you are very cool, all of you are very relaxed. You're creating some sort of incongruence between what you're trying to project and what you people really are. So that's why I say in the beginning, just like relax first. Start this business. Based on what your customers are telling you, based on what other people are telling you, based on the vibe that all of you are feeling as people are working together, you will now know that, okay, you know what, our brand is this, our brand is that. It's not a good idea, in my own opinion. No. Like I said, if you're one of those people who understands these things intuitively, then yes, from day one, design everything. But for everybody else, just start first. Based on how you're interacting with people, that's how you will now know, okay, what is our visual, what's our visual identity? What's everything going to look like? It's the same thing with brand messaging and brand voice. People worry too much about brand messaging and brand voice. Like, relax first. Relax. You don't know whether you're going to be extremely formal, or you don't know whether you're going to be playful and witty. You don't know whether you're going to be authoritative. You don't know whether you're going to be friendly. Like, you don't know yet. Go into the business first, and then you'll know. Because there are some people who are very playful in real life, but then when it's time for business, they're like, okay, this is business now. This is, as in business is business. It's not until you finish doing business with them and you see them after hours, you now realize that, oh, okay, this guy is pretty chill, or this babe is pretty chill. So do the business first. Just be going, be interacting with people, continue to try and sell, continue to try and move your market. You will now get feels, you now get feeders from people out there in the marketplace that you're interacting with. And you will now know that, oh, okay, you know what? As a brand, or as a company, as a business, we are high touch, or we are low key, or we're low maintenance, or we're playful, or we're serious, or we're professional, we're authoritative. Don't worry about all these things yet. It's how you interact with the customers, the customer experience, the user experience. These are the things that will tell you authentically what your brand messaging and what your brand voice is. But why is branding important? Let me wrap up on that. Because, okay, I don't think I went into that. Okay, let me just wrap up on that. Look, branding is important, yes. Because the challenge now is that business is commodified. If you're a painter, you're not the only painter in your local government. If you're a musician, you're not the only musician in your area. Even if you're a hired killer, you're not the only hired killer in that place. If you're a business consultant, you're not the only business consultant on your street. If you're a wedding photographer, you're not the only wedding photographer in the local government. So, one moment. Okay, anyway, let me just wrap up. It's like the kids want us to leave. So, branding is important just because, there's commodification going on, there's competition all over the place. You have to differentiate yourself. People have to see that, okay, this guy is different from this guy, this babe is different from this babe, and this is the reason why. So I am not the only sales trainer. I'm not the only business development consultant that you know. But you clearly can see that there's a difference between me and the next guy, and the next guy and the next babe. All of us are different. And this is the reason why branding is important. It helps to differentiate all of us in the market. Then it also helps with recognition and recall. You say, oh, now you be this. Okay, you're that guy. It makes it easier. You're that babe. It makes it easier. Oh, my cousin Chineye, she was speaking about so. So that is your company. These things make it easy. Oh, I've seen those guys before. I've seen these girls before. Recognition and recall makes it easier to do business. Then also, trust and credibility. That comes from recognition and recall, by the way. So those of you who recognize me, you recall me, after a while, you'll be like, that guy, he's the very guy. He's legit. That guy is the GOAT. You will say that because recognition and recall over time. Then, for those of us who eventually were going to want to hire people, it will help with attracting talent. So, by the time I set up a proper consulting agency, and maybe I've been doing this in maybe like 20 years, and I now understand, build proper structure, I don't know, make things nice and legit, nice and fancy. There are people who want to work for me precisely because of the kind of brand that I have built. So same thing with you too. But most importantly, building a brand is important because it reduces sales resistance. Once you can have that kind of brand, like, oh, I've seen this guy before. Okay, now you be this. Okay, you're the one that handle this. You're the one that handle that. Oh, okay, no problem. Sounds like you're legit. It makes the conversation very, very easy. And it's something I picked up from like year 2 of the podcast. I just realized that after a while, I was not in too many, begging conversations. I was beginning to get to the level where people assumed that, okay, this guy, you already know what you're talking about. And it was just a matter of getting down and trying to figure out, okay, how can we use your skill sets to move my whatever forward? But I wasn't having to prove myself anymore. So branding is important. But my warning to you guys, I beg, is don't be one of those people who spend 3 months trying to think out everything before you begin your business journey. That's not the right way to go about it. So that's all for today, folks. Let me carry my children back to the house. Remember, if you'd love to connect with me, you can call, you can SMS, you can WhatsApp me on 080-6466-2140. Thank you very much for your time and attention. I'll catch you next time, same place, in your headphones or in your speakers.